I know you talk a lot about that hero's journey, right? We love to cheer the people that are overcoming the battles, that are winning the battles, that are in the struggle, but then in the end, they're going to come out ahead. Now, you have to be willing to embrace the suck because when you're the one that's in it, it's not always great. But we have to reshape how we see these challenges. We have to reshape our mindset around the battles. In the battles are where we are building the scars and the muscle to be able to be the person that we need to be so that when that dream, that vision comes to fruition, we have to be a certain type of person and we have to grow into that person. And we can't do it without the battle scars or the building the muscles or building the mindset or toughening up. So I always tell people just from the beginning, embrace the suck because there's going to be a lot of suck, but it's okay because that's what's going to build you. That's what's going to help you be prepared for when you arrive.
Welcome to the Academy for Adventurers podcast, where every story is a new expedition. Join us as we explore real-life adventures, battles, and moments of growth from people forging their own path. Because life isn't ordinary. It's an adventure worth living. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Academy for Adventurers podcast. I'm your host, Mauro Schiavo, and today I am joined by a guest that is truly near and dear to my heart, Berta Medina. How are you, Berta?
Great, Mauro. How are you?
I'm super thrilled. I am excited to have you on. I was so glad and very humbled that you chose to come on the podcast. So I'm happy to have you here.
I'm excited to be here, Mauro, and excited about your podcast. I love what you're doing and just know great things are going to come from this.
Thank you so much. So here on the podcast, we love to talk about adventure, obviously, since we have it in the name. Personal and professional adventures. We love to talk about the challenges and the battles that you faced and how you've overcome them, and the lessons and the growth that you've experienced along the way, and then what you find beautiful. And in no particular order as the conversation goes, but in order to better facilitate the conversation, I think I'd love to read your bio so that way the audience can know a little bit more about you.
Sure.
All righty. So, Berta Medina is a transformational coach, speaker, and adventure enthusiast. You can see why I was happy to have her come on, who helps high achievers break free from stagnation and design the next exciting chapter of their lives. She is the founder of Your Epic Next, a coaching platform created for successful leaders, speakers, and entrepreneurs who have achieved a lot, but feel called to more. After over a decade of coaching through Dream or Succeed, Berta recognized a growing need among people who felt uninspired after success. Her work now focuses on reinvention through deep self-discovery, bold action, and lived experiences, including her signature 30-day intensive. Originally known for adventure coaching, she's taken clients skydiving, hang gliding, and mountain climbing. Berta brings that same fearless energy into every coaching experience, which I know firsthand. She also leads mission trips to Africa, blending service, purpose, and impact. On stage, she uses humor and storytelling to connect, inspire, and challenge audiences to live fully. A living example of reinvention. Berta believes transformation happens in motion, and she is dedicating to helping others step boldly into what's next.
I love that. Yeah. Wow, you make me sound so good.
Well, it's because you are. It's not very hard. I think we should mention to the audience that you have been, I know you're very humble, but you have played a major role. You are a big reason why I am still here, because when you and I first met, which now is over 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, this was like the Academy for Adventures was just a word. Like it wasn't anything as of yet, at least not publicly. And when we met at a Starbucks back in 2022, which is now, I think we're on the 3 year anniversary because I
Yeah,
remember we met in December.
around this time. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was around this time.
Mm-hmm.
You told me back then that the Academy for Adventures was Mara's Little Secret Empire. And it took me a while, but little by little I started opening up, and I just wanted to mention that because I think a lot of people who will watch this and a lot of people that will listen maybe are people that they have their own dreams, their own goals, their own desires, their own businesses that they want to create and work on, but they feel discouraged or they feel overwhelmed because they know that it's a big undertaking and the adventure, although it's interesting, it's very difficult. What would you say to people like that have an idea but they're not currently acting on it? What would you say as a coach to those people?
That's a great question, Mauro. And I think what happens is the discouragement is really there by default. Almost, we have this big vision, that morning, and everything is coming into place, and then at midnight you start, sort of fetal position, shaking in your bed. How am I going to make this happen? And there are two things that I want people to understand. Once God plants that seed of a dream in your heart, he has already equipped you with everything that you need to achieve it. You just have to
Mm,
get out of your own way. So I
mm,
think what happens is
mm.
everything starts small, and we forget that everything starts small. Okay. From an idea to a seed, everything starts small. So we think that we have to go from 0 to 60 in like 30 seconds. And if we don't see those results right away, it becomes very discouraging, and
Yes.
people either
Yeah.
fall off, or they let the discouragement and the laziness sort of take over. They let that procrastination take over. And I heard a great analogy one time: to get from California to New York in the dark, you have headlamps and you really only need to see 200 feet in front of you,
Interesting.
and then the next 200 feet, and
Interesting.
then the next 200 feet. So I
Interesting.
think a lot
Mm.
of what I want people to understand is that the journey of us bringing that dream to fruition is part of what makes it so exciting. It's part of what helps us grow. It's part of what makes us who we become, to be the people that bring that dream to fruition. But it can't happen in an instant. It can't
Mm.
happen in a vacuum.
Mm.
To be players, there are going to be experiences, or there are going to be detours and stops and sort of pauses, but we have to keep going, because again, whatever sparked that dream, and I always go back to the why, Mauro. You had this dream, yes, you want to do something, there was a huge why behind
Yeah.
the reason you started. So I think as long as we always circle back to that why, that brings the motivation that we need sort of built in.
Beautiful. Beautiful answer. A couple things. I like to use this example about Harry Potter and Hogwarts. And I illustrate this. So I say, imagine if the Harry Potter series was rewritten and the movies were filmed again. And imagine if they took out all the action scenes, all the battles, all the difficulties, all the hardship, and you were just left with Harry and Hermione and Ron just going from class to class. Like, would you watch those movies? Probably not, right? Probably not. It would be so boring. But there's something about, we shy away from our battles. We shy away from our feelings of discomfort. We shy away from the difficulties that are in front of us. But we seem to love, which is ironic in a way, we love to watch difficulty and hardships in other people's lives, but not in our own. But we also know that a life without challenge is boring, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I just, that struck me a few years ago, and I just use that example all the time because I think it says something about human psychology, something about us. Like, why do you why do you think that we enjoy watching it in other people's lives, but we shy away from it in our own? Like, what would you say? Why would you say that's the case?
Well, I think because we love watching that hero's journey. I know you talk a lot about that hero's journey, right? We love to cheer the people that are overcoming the battles, that are winning the battles, that are in the struggle, but then in the end they're going to come out ahead. Now, you have to be willing to embrace the suck, because when you're the one that's in it, it's not always great. But we have to reshape how we see these challenges. We have to reshape our mindset around the battles. In the battles are where we are building the scars and the muscle to be able to be the person that
Mm,
we need to be, so that when that dream, that vision comes to fruition, we we have to be a certain type of person, and we have to grow into that person, and we can't do it without the battle scars, or the building the muscles, or building the mindset, or toughening up. So I always tell people, just from the beginning, embrace the suck, because there's going to be a lot of suck,
raise the
but it's
sun.
okay, because that's what's going to build you. That's what's going to help you be prepared for when you arrive. That's the way
How
I look
did you how did you embrace the suck? Like, what is an example in your life that you had to embrace the suck and you overcame it?
at it. Um, I feel like there were several, but okay, I'll give you one perfect example because it's very tangible with
Mm,
adventure. When I went my first mission trip, we was a fun part of a fundraiser, and we were going to spend 3 weeks in Kenya and Tanzania, and one of those weeks we were going to spend on Mount Kilimanjaro. So the big part of the fundraiser was we sponsored a child, a Maasai child in Kenya, and we were going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro in an effort to raise funds so that that child would be taken care of from age 5 until they graduated high school. My little boy's name is Sibao. Now, I was a 47-year-old postmenopausal grandma when I got that invitation from God. Never climbed a mountain, born and raised in Miami. We don't even have hills, except whatever that thing is at Tropical Park. And I didn't go there often enough, right? So I was really ill prepared. I trained for 8 months. I went, to Rainier. I did a climb in Quandary, one of the 14ers in
Wow.
Colorado, and I
You
walked
went
eight
to Mount
miles a day.
Rainier?
I didn't climb it, but I went to hike
Wait,
it.
you went to
uh,
hike a Mount, so you went to Seattle. Well, outside of Seattle, but
Outside of Seattle, yeah, because
wow.
I needed to experience, having never been on a mountain before, what that could feel like. So I come back, and I was, training with an elevation mask. I would wear a backpack full of books so that I could feel.
Wow.
But I'm walking on flat sidewalks, in my neighborhood in Miramar. 8 miles a day, pretty much every day. I think I had 2,000 miles on my Fitbit by the time I left in September. And
Wow.
when I get to base camp, that first day, so it was 6 days to get to the summit, and then two
Mhm.
days back. It was a
Mm.
very well organized trip. And I get to base camp, which is, at elevation, I think it starts at 6,500 feet of elevation. And I realize I am not prepared for this climb. Not by any stretch of the imagination. What my mind is like, what am I doing here? Am I crazy? I'm older. I've never taken on anything like this, and here I am. But I took two things with me, Mauro. I had a summit or die attitude. I did not
Your
mind.
die
Yeah.
attitude.
If I died on that mountain, I had told my husband and my kids, listen, leave me there. Because either way, I want you to spread my ashes in Africa. So just leave me there. Don't even come for the body. But I am going to die. I am going to die, or I am going to summit. So I had that attitude going for me. And the second thing that I had going for me, on our backpacks, we had 23 climbers. There were 72 guides and porters taking care of our group of 23 climbers, which was incredible. They spoiled us to a level that was out of control. So I I had on my backpack a picture of Cibao. Every climber had a clip with a picture of the child that they were sponsoring. So that when you feel really tired and your legs get heavy and you want to vomit, you're looking at that picture and you're remembering why. So I had a very, very strong why going in. I had a very, very strong mindset. My attitude was, I know I'm not prepared, but if I die, whatever. What a cool story to get to heaven and say, I was climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that helped me overcome the deficiency, the physical deficiency that I had, which was very apparent, and it worked. I was, and I say this story all the time. My, Lion King had just been re-released by Disney, the 3D version in the theater, and
Okay.
my granddaughter was 2.5 years old at the time.
Oh.
So when it came out on video, we would watch it, 10 times a day. You know how it is. And came out on DVD actually. Video was when my kids were younger, when Chloe was this age. So every at the opening scene, when the clouds part to reveal Kilimanjaro, she would run up to the TV and she would say, "Mima, that's where you're going, right?" And she would point to the tippity top. So I was like, I can't come
Wow.
back and tell this 2.5-year-old girl that I didn't make it.
That you didn't do it. Yeah.
So it was just I was surrounded by really good people, and we all had the same motivator. We all really wanted to make a difference in these children's lives. So again, and I say that I circle back to the why, but that for me was a big contributor in helping me overcome a million deficiencies that I had. That everything, if you looked at me on a scanner, everything was working against me
Hmm.
to be able to successfully summit that mountain.
Hmm. But you did it anyway.
And I always say, but God,
Hmm.
these we're on His plans, not ours. And he saw a way to do it, and I'm grateful. 11 years ago.
Wow. I mean, for lack of a better word, what an adventure, honestly. I mean, that must have, that must have been rough. That must have been cold.
It was
I mean,
cold.
that must have been like, I don't know if you felt like your toes were going to fall off,
There were times, and
Man.
especially that summit morning, I never prayed for sun ever in my life, because we leave summit morning at 1 a.m. And the
Mm.
reason that they do that, they tell us after, is because if you see the terrain that you have to go in that last 3,000 feet or whatever, you half of the people wouldn't go.
Really?
So they do it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they do it when it's dark so that you're really just following your guide. You're relying on the headlamps. It was 0 degrees when we left, and we spent 7 days on the mountain sleeping in tents with no showers.
Wow.
Like, that was really hard for me because I'm like a slight germaphobe. So that was really hard. But again, the sacrifice that we were all making collectively was so worth it because we knew what that would represent. And I still keep in touch with Sibao. He just turned 17 in August,
Wow.
and I've been back to see him 4 times, and I just love him. And I have many other sponsored children in Kenya, but that willingness, like you say, Mauro, and that
Mm.
daring to take the adventure changed everything for me. I mean, everything, even the way that I saw myself.
Mm. There's something to be said about not only having a strong why, but it also sounds like you had a strong who. You had someone, because it wasn't just an intangible motivating force that you had. You had a tangible living being that was depending on your success
Yeah.
to live a better life. Hmm. I relate to that now because I have a newborn.
Yes.
He's going to be two weeks tomorrow.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, there's something a lot more powerful that comes from a who than just. And I'm not discrediting the why. Far
No.
from it. I think
Right.
the why is extremely strong. But if you add the other three-letter W word, you add a who
Hmm.
to the why. I mean, it's like a powerful combination.
Yeah. And Mauro, I think the who, without the who, what's the point of the why?
Without a who, what's the point of the why?
So I love that
Well,
you said
right,
that. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Because for me, I want to make, like, I love the way that my kids talk about me behind my back. And
Mm,
not in a braggy way, right? But I need to make sure that whatever I'm doing is honoring my children, honoring
mm,
my grandchildren,
mm,
because I'm, and I don't want to say I'm only here, but my main reason for being here, me personally, this is just me,
mm-hmm,
is to leave the world better than it was when I got here. And I
mm.
know that I have two amazing kids that God has blessed me with, that the world is already better because they're in it.
Because you brought them in it.
Right. And
Mm,
now my daughter has two amazing kids that have elevated the game of what, what they're doing. Chloe's 14, Soren is 20 months old, right? But I already know, I can see, and my granddaughter is like, you can have a conversation with her about anything in the Bible and she
and she
outdoes me
knows.
like every day, right?
Wow.
And that to me is, if I die today, I die happy. If I die today, I go knowing that they're all going to be perfectly great, because they just are, and they have their faith, and they have their God is protecting them and looking over them. But I love that you said that, because I had not thought of that.
Mm,
But the why is always connected to a who, Mauro.
yes. Yeah, and that was something that genuinely occurred to me while you were speaking. And yeah, it's like we have we know things, but we're not always cognizant of them, right?
Hmm.
So we know it's like, of course, a
Yeah.
why is tied to a who, because
Right.
because then who is it for? I mean,
Hmm.
everything that we do, whether if it's a personal or professional endeavor, is for somebody. I mean,
Yeah.
now some of it
Yeah.
may be for you. Now you're still a who. I mean, you're
Right.
still a
Right.
person, but oftentimes it's for somebody else. I mean, it's either
Yeah.
going to be for a loved one, it's going to be for a family member, a friend, it's going to be for a prospect, a client,
Hmm.
or the market, whatever. But
Right.
it's always for a who, right? It's always for a who.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it's
powerful, Mauro.
interesting. So I need to know why why did you choose to do that experience in the first place? Like go to Kilimanjaro and then subsequently all the mission trips to Africa. I mean, this is a big part of your life because flying to Africa is by no means a minor endeavor. And it takes a lot of time, energy, and also money, to be frank. I mean,
Mhm.
because those
Right.
are expensive trips, I imagine.
Right.
So
Right.
why Africa? Like why that?
So funny that you asked. So I've been obsessed with Africa ever since I was a little girl. My dream was always to go to Kenya, and I
Hmm.
don't know why. It was just a thing. We had one of my grandmother's cousins who had never married. She didn't have children, but she traveled all over the world. Right? She was a very high end seamstress, and she went
Okay.
to Africa when we were little. And I just thought, my gosh, how cool! I want to go to Africa. So I find out, I want to say by now it's probably been 30 years or something, that we come from African slaves in what is now known
Hmm.
as the Republic of Benin, Stohemi back then. My great great grandfather was taken to Havana Harbor, married a slave woman. They had a daughter, and that daughter had a child with the slave owner's son, and that's my great grandmother. So she was
Wow.
raised in a lot of privilege and wealth. She was mulata,
She was
and she had my grandmother. So it's not that far removed.
No, it's
So I
not. Not
started
at all.
sort of making the connection. I got very, very interested in the Cuban slave trade just to
Mm-hmm.
see what
Mm-hmm.
kind of things transpired. And and I love that you said, why did you choose? I don't think I chose it, Mauro. I think I always
Okay.
wanted it. I
Okay.
feel like it was always a dream in my heart, but I think God knew, God made the invitation, and it's almost like he said, let's see what you do with this.
Hmm.
So at the time, I had my title company. I had been in real estate on the title side for 28 years, loved every minute of it, knew that I was going to be doing that until I died because I loved it that much. So I
Really?
had my own company and very busy. I had offices in Orlando and in Miami, and I was busy, but I loved it. I didn't mind 14-hour days. And I go on this trip, and it was funny, Mauro, because every time my IT person was my cousin, he was brilliant. And I would say, just set everything up so that I can do it from Africa. Never having a trip on the agenda or on the calendar or anything. I said, just set me up so that I can do my life with this business from Africa. And lo and behold, I get this invitation for this trip, and he had configured everything so like everything was on a cloud before the cloud was a cloud,
Before the cloud was a cloud.
and I could do life and respond even though I'm halfway around the world. Except on the mountain, we had zero communication
Mm.
for 7 days. Our family didn't know whether we were alive or dead,
Wow.
but that was one of the caveats, and it was survivable apparently.
Yeah.
And I
Clearly.
came back. Yeah, I came back from that trip, and I remember I sat my mom, my husband, and my kids down, and I said, I'm retiring from title. And my husband,
Okay, that's huge.
yeah, yeah. And my
Wow, that's
husband
huge.
says, okay, you fell, you hit your head on a mountain. What is going on? So I get back October 4th, Mauro. Now remember, I had been doing this for 28 years. December 31st, I was retired. I gave away my Orlando business to someone I worked with here. I gave away I didn't even, everybody's like, well, sell it. I have a buyer. And I'm like, I don't, I don't want to sell it.
You gave it a you
I wanted to, I wanted to be a blessing, and
what
you
the
do what you do.
heck? Oh
And
my
I
god.
knew God would provide. Now, to be fair, I was already in coaching school. Even
Okay.
though coaching school was, I was at University of Miami. It was just a curiosity. I knew I would never do coaching professionally, but people said, hey, coaching is a thing. And I'm like, what do you mean it's a thing? People always call me that. And they're like, yeah, you can get certified and become a coach. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And 2 weeks later, I'm enrolled at whatever. So, so I had this crazy idea that I'm going to retire from title and I'm just going to start coaching full time.
Okay, what
January.
year was this? What year was this?
This was 2014, December
Wow.
31st, 2014.
Okay, so
I
I
retired.
think it's important to point out for the audience because now everyone and their mother knows what a life coach is in
Yeah,
2025, but it
yeah,
wasn't the case in 2014.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think so. I mean, I think it was
I didn't
started,
know. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but like it wasn't nearly like what it is now.
No,
Not even
no.
close.
Not even close. Not even close. And like I said, I didn't know. One of my daughter's friends came, and she had gone through a bad breakup, and we were talking, and she said, Berta, you should be a coach. And I'm like, oh, people call me that all the time. She said, no, 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 but you should really like look into it. And I'm like, what are you talking? And again, that's how the conversation came
Okay.
up. So
Mm.
I just decided I'm going to jump in head first. I'm going to do this. This is going to be my business now. I started Dream or Succeed. And again, Mauro, I think God favors everyone, but there's something about when you're willing to step in faith into the
Mm.
unknown because you know He's got you, and you know that this is a calling. And my thing was, there are a lot of kids out here that need help, and that was another thing. People kept asking me, why Africa. I volunteer in my community. My goal was always 1,000 hours a year. Okay, I was with Hands on Broward, Hands on Miami, volunteer Broward. So it wasn't anything odd for me to commit to volunteering. I just wanted to do it in a way where I needed more time. I needed the resources, obviously, but I knew that coaching could give me both and give me the flexibility. So that's how I started. And Mauro, on the mountain, people knew I was in coaching school. So they would ask me, hey, you're in coaching school. Can I walk with you today? We had 8-hour hikes, 12-hour hikes some days. And I'm having an issue with this. Can I walk with you today? And I found that people were a lot more vulnerable, a lot more open when they're out in nature, when they're adventuring, when their adrenaline is flowing.
Okay.
So I came back and I asked my mentor coach, I said, hey, does adventure coaching exist? And she said, what do you care? It does now. Because I thought if I can get somebody to go skydiving, if that's their fear, I
Right.
can make progress with them in 6 months, what would take me 3 years at a Starbucks. So that's how that whole element of adventure came into the picture. And it's been a crazy blast. But it's all God. I mean, it's totally a God thing. I couldn't have come
Totally.
up with that.
Yeah. So obviously, this experience was a huge impact
Hmm.
because it got you to quite literally, give away a 28-year business. I mean, I'm 32 years old. So it's like I imagine like I just gave away 28 years of my life. Like I'd only like that's crazy.
Yeah, I
I
had been
mean,
in business for myself about 12 of those 28 years. I had just been doing it for 28 years.
okay.
Yeah.
But still. I mean,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
still.
Yeah. I mean,
Where does that spirit of generosity, like what is that? Cuz that's not something that you hear often. I don't hear people often that do that. Like what's like you must have something special that God has placed in your heart if you're able to be that generous.
but Moto, I don't think it's anything special or different. I think we all have it. I think we're born generous by default. I think with kids, you're either going to nurture that generosity or you're gonna
Squash it.
greed
Yeah.
it out of them,
Yeah, you're going to
or
beat it
beat
out
it
of
out of
them.
them.
Yeah.
So I think that, and that's why as humans we get so much more out of giving the perfect gift than we do out of
Then we
receiving,
receiving it.
because I think our default is generosity. So I think it wasn't anything different. I come from
Hmm.
a family that was just, we didn't have much, but if we had it and you were here, you were going to sit down and eat,
You got it.
right?
Yeah, you gave it.
And if we had to do without because somebody else in the family or somebody that we knew couldn't make rent that month, my grandmother was going to find a way to take from here to make sure that they, so it was not anything spoken. It was not anything that they sat us down and said, listen, you have to be it was just
You
it,
saw
it
it.
was it was just they were all living it. My mother spent her entire life making deposits that she was never going to make a withdrawal on, that she was never going to get a kickback on, but she was super generous. And my mom was a single mom. She didn't have the means. She worked 13 days on, 1 day off, and there was always enough to be able to help. There was always enough to be able to give. So I think it's just like normal. Like come on, that's why I say I believe that it is normal in all of us. It just has to be nurtured, especially now you're a dad. I know that
Yeah.
you and Rubies are like that. I
Yeah.
know that that's how you're going to raise Mauro Jr. But but I believe that it's going to be like my kids with volunteering. And I'll go back to volunteering for a minute.
Yeah.
The youngest you could be to start volunteering with any of the hands-on networks was 8 years old. So what my children got for their eighth birthday was, hey, guess what? Now you get to go to the botanical gardens. Now we get to do this toy drive. Now we get to do. So by the time they got to high school and were required to do volunteer hours,
It was
they were
easy.
volunteering every weekend. It was not a big deal. It was nothing out of the norm. And I'll tell you one quick story about that, Mauro.
Please do.
And you know how they say our kids are going to do what we do, they're not going to do what we say.
What we say.
So there was this gentleman who was houseless, Mac, and he used to stand at the entrance of the highway where we lived. And Mac was always like you would give what you had, or we'd bring him a meal, or I'd pull over and bring him clothes and whatever. So for the kids, it's just, hey, can I give him this time? Can I, whatever. So my son goes away to college. He came to UCF, and he had one of my credit cards. He wasn't gonna abuse. Thank God, my mom had done prepaid college for him. He had his car. He was living in a dorm for a little while at the beginning. So he's talking about how he eats ramen for dinner every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Ramen, it's like 27 cents. And I'd be like, Georgie, that's so bad. There's no nutritional
That's
value
not good for
in
you.
ramen. He goes, yeah, mom, but it's cheap, And I'm like, but it's not like you don't have. And he was working. He worked, ran one of my offices here in Orlando, and he always worked either at Old Navy or whatever seasonal, whatever they had retail. So one day I was coming to the office, and I said, let's go grab something to eat before you go off to class, whatever. So so I get in his car, and Mauro, he's got a wad of dollar bills in his cup holder. And I'm like, dude, what's all this
Yeah,
money?
what's up? Yeah.
You're here eating ramen and he goes,
Yeah.
Mom, that's in case I see a homeless person.
My gosh.
So I always have a dollar at least to give them. And I'm thinking that it was such a proud mom moment, right? But
Wow.
it taught me that we need to be leading with
Mm.
generosity, because there's always someone paying attention to what normal is.
Mm.
And when it comes to my kids, when it comes to my grandchildren, Chloe, she can't see someone on the street without making you stop at a Chick-fil-A and going back and making a U-turn and taking them something. Ever since she was a little girl, it's just
This is who she
normal
is.
for her. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very cool, Mauro. And I think, again, I think as humans, we're just born. We're just born with that generosity gene. And as parents, we can either nurture it or not.
This morning, actually, I was having a session with a client, and the topic of nature versus nurture came up. What do you think about that concept?
I think they have to coexist well. Okay. I think that I'm a big believer in the nurture element. I'm not saying that DNA doesn't have, whatever,
An
but I'm
impact, yeah.
I'm a big believer in the nurture element. I've seen, children that have come out of very disruptive and disturbing childhoods that are great parents and have done
Mm.
great things in the world, you know and I've seen the other side too, but I really believe that. And listen, it's not just nurturing our children, it's nurturing our tribe. How are we showing up? I want to make sure that everyone that knows me, not because I need to hear it and not because I needed anything to be said about me, but I want to make sure that they know that when I'm showing up for them, I'm showing up for them completely, and that they are the most important person to me, and that they matter. And and I think if we were all at least trying to do that, not in a facetious way, or not in a way that it's sort of like, hey, look at me, I'm this good person. No, it's not that. It's just that's the easiest thing to be. You have to go out of your way to be, an a-hole. You have to go out of your way to be mean or
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. I'm so glad you said that, because oftentimes, I mean, at least here in South Florida, with the way that everyone drives, I mean,
Hmm.
it's contagious, and unfortunately in a bad way. And it's like everyone seems on edge. Like people are just like, I've noticed that sometimes something will happen, like maybe someone will like cut me off, or someone will do something that they're not supposed to, and like you can tell that they're looking at you, because they're probably expecting that, oh yeah, this guy's probably gonna like flick me off or curse me out or
Right.
whatever. And it's just like, that's what, because it's just, people are just like expecting that. But I think that it takes just as much energy, like you said, if not more, to do or be negative than it does to be positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
100%.
it's the same amount of time and energy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just so interesting to me that we live with this unfortunate notion that it's easy to be bad, but it's hard to be good. And I'm not saying that there are actual decisions that are good that are difficult to make,
Right.
but
Right.
that doesn't mean that they're all like that. You
Right,
know?
right, right. And again, it's just like I'll go to the path of least resistance. The path of least resistance for, because as humans, that's what we do. The path of least resistance for me just happens to be, and I used to have really bad road rage, Mauro, now that you talk about it, because of course I'm born and raised in Miami.
Yeah.
Really bad till menopause. Menopause sort of fixed it for me. It's
Oh, it
crazy.
changed that for you?
Yeah, and thank God I menopaused early, right? But you know what?
Yeah, at
And it's a
47.
mindset shift. So when someone cuts me off or is in a hurry or honking their horn or whatever, I just say, man, maybe they're trying to get to the hospital. Maybe
Yes.
something happened to someone in their family. There's like, give them the benefit of the doubt
Give
that
it the
there's a
benefit of
good
the doubt.
reason why they're doing that. And you know what? It
Disarms you. Yeah.
completely changed the way that I reacted to things, because it's a choice. Like you said, it's a
You're the
choice.
second person on this podcast to use that example because one of my other guests, when we talked about driving, he also said that he does the same thing. He imagines that that person is on their way to the hospital. That's very
Wow.
interesting. The same exact
Wow.
example. Yeah, it's very
Wow.
interesting that
Yeah.
happened. Yeah. So there's something to be said about that having that mindset of choosing to believe something that because at the end of the day 99 or 999 times out of 1,000 you're going to have to make up a story because you probably don't even know that person, so
Yeah.
why not make up the story that is better
Make
than
it
making up,
good. Exactly.
because
Exactly.
you're going to make up a story, might as well make up a good one,
Make
you
it
know.
good.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
I
I
love
want
that.
to know, I want you to share with the audience because you made a very profound shift getting into coaching. And you rebranded, you went from Dreamer Succeed to Your Epic Next.
Mm-hmm.
And with that rebranding also came a shift in focus because now you're focusing on the people who already have been successful and what's next for them. So, can you tell me a little bit about what you're up to in Your Epic Next? And I suppose also why that shift happened in the first place. Why that shift happened in the first place.
Yeah. That's a great question, Mauro. And I think what happened is, of course, we see in our businesses evolve, and us as coaches, we evolve, and we start catering to everything sort of morphs. So I
Mm,
think for me, it was just that I was hearing so much that you have these high level executives, and you have these people that have they've reached the summit. They have raised their children, built their businesses, made their money, and then they're sort of like in a now what, right? The
mm,
excitement that it takes to build that business and to raise your family, you're busy in the thick of it, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I'm looking around, now what do I do? So it was sort of like, and I think it was from my own personal experience of, okay, now what am I going to do with this? I've already done it. I've reached whatever level of success or not yet success, but I feel like I need something different. And I found that a lot of times what was missing was the purpose, the element of purpose. So what I started doing was inviting these clients or previous clients to just come on a trip with me. Listen, maybe you've never done mission work. Maybe you've never done anything to give back. We would start with volunteering if they hadn't volunteered actively within their community. But a
mm.
lot of them took me up on it and went to Africa. And then
Wow.
they're able to see the impact of how people out there, two-thirds of the world really lives, and that there's something we can do. It's
Mm,
not that you want to throw money at things. So I am
mm.
very, very careful to align myself with organizations, and I'm on the board of some that, yeah, it's about sustainability. Like if I'm invited to be on a board, my first question is going to be, what are we doing so that we don't have to exist? How are we empowering our the people that we are serving so that they can take it from here at a certain point, right? So, and let me tell you, Mauro, a lot of them either have taken up, and supported these organizations and these ministries that we visited, or they'll come back and they'll say, I've always had a heart for this. I'm going to start my own nonprofit.
Wow.
And that for me is huge.
Wow.
I mean, huge. So with your Epic Next, and one of the things that I've done always is supporting speakers. There are people that have the expertise, they have reached that level of success, and they've always wanted to speak but never said it out loud. So we started Speaker Connect Global, so that
Yes.
lines them up so that they can come. And now we've given it a whole other twist where I've always committed to doing that at cost, because that's how Speaker Connect started. But now I found a way to bless these nonprofits so that they can put together an event and they're making the profits
They're
as a
making money.
fundraiser. So it's
Nice.
just, and it's, again, Mauro, it's just a God thing.
Mm.
I don't have the capacity or the bandwidth to think of this stuff, but it just continues to evolve. And as long as you're open and you're paying attention to the signs that he's sending and the way that he's telling you certain things, it becomes very, very powerful when you're open to just seeing what God wants to do with you next.
I'm just always in awe because it's like every time I talk to you, it's like you're always doing something for somebody else. Like it's beautiful, and you're always empowering others. I mean, that's why you're a coach, right? That's why you're not only just a coach, but you're a great coach. What You're welcome. What has been, you don't have to name names, but maybe just a story, an anecdote. Like what has been or who has been one of your most interesting clients and why? You can
Wow,
make
I
up
feel like,
pseudo names if you
yeah,
want,
I feel
but
like I've
yeah.
had so many interesting clients. Super blessed. Let's see. I think, I'll encapsulate a group of clients because it's what I love to see the most.
Okay.
When they come in completely knowing what the issue is in an organization with them personally, and it's just not there. So I'll
Hmm.
give you one example. I had this gentleman who was recommended where I had my office. The landlord recommended him. Super good guy, extremely successful. He had a very, very clear, like, I tell them at the beginning, if you're not going to come with a big audacious goal, I'm not your coach.
We're not going to
Like,
work.
I want you to almost think it's impossible. Okay. So he comes in and he's a little, I don't care. He's a little cocky, right? Because he's, got money and whatever. And he's telling me about where he came from and how he lived on 12th Street when his parents came from Cuba and he was already, in his teens and whatever. Great. I love that because I love that story, the hero's journey and the success story,
Yes,
whatever.
exactly. Yes.
So I
Yeah.
think he's worth like $70 million, right?
Jeez.
Yeah. So he says,
Nice.
my goal is by the time I'm 55, I want to be worth $100 million. And I'm like, dude, that's 5 years away. You're already worth $70 million. If you just leave it in the bank, that's
Yeah,
$100 million.
just don't touch it, bro. Like don't spend
No,
it.
I'm like, that's not a goal.
Not a
So he's
goal. That's like
he's sitting
diffuse.
there
Yeah.
arguing. Yeah, he's sitting there arguing with me, and I was not budging. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of times there's a dynamic at the beginning when you meet someone, they're trying to portray something,
They're trying to
and
portray
I'm
something.
totally the opposite. I'm like, listen, I am an a-hole as a coach. If you write the check, I guarantee you're gonna hate my guts for the first few months. But I won't even
But
ask you to write the check if I don't love you enough and believe enough in what you're doing to
there it
even take
is.
you on as a client.
There it is. There it is.
Because I'm vetting them. You know, they're interviewing me. I'm vetting them. I'm very protective of my energy, very protective of my clients, because I know that it affects my energy for my other clients, for my the mission work that I do for my
Yes.
family. So I'm extremely protective. So he goes on, and then I said, if you can set a real goal, we can work together. So we pushed, he pushed back a little bit, and then he came up with something like 140 million or something. So I said, that's double. I can work with that, whatever. So
Okay.
then we started working together, and he wrote the check, and we're fine. So my first thing is, I say, I'm not going to cash the check. Okay. I want you to write your centenarian speech. And he's like, what is that? So I said, what is the speech that they're going to say about you on your 100th birthday celebration? And he goes, what is that? And I said, well, what do you want to hear? When you turn 100 and there's a big bash, what do you want to hear them say? Because if you know what that is, we can reverse engineer where we have to go. And Mauro, let me tell you, he fought me on it and fought me on it. And I
Hmm.
wouldn't schedule that first session until, so he would call me and he says, hey, I saw your car in my neighborhood. Do you live wherever? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, oh my gosh, we're neighbors. I didn't know, but I have my tag says a dreamer, whatever. And he goes, and I knew it was you. And I said, yeah, whatever. So he's just fighting me on it, tooth and nail. And he would come to my office, and I'm like, I haven't cashed a check. Where's your centenarian speech?
Where's
And
your
he's like,
sense?
I just don't understand why that's important, whatever. So Mauro,
Hmm.
3 weeks in, he calls me on a Saturday, and he said, hey, I started writing my centenarian speech, and 17 pages later,
What the frick?
I couldn't stop crying. But I'm going to send you a picture. I finished my centenarian speech.
17 pages. Ooh.
Somebody who didn't want to do it, didn't want to do it. 17 pages, Mauro. And he sent me pictures of everything. And you know what? To me, it didn't even matter what was on there, because I knew that at least I had broken through to get him to at least be coachable now, to
No.
be willing to do it. And that opened him up in a way that was just explosive. It was crazy. So and I'm glad you asked me this question, because I hadn't dug up that story in a while.
It's a great
But
story.
yeah, and I think it's just making the invitation for people to dream. Nobody's inviting anybody to dream. I'll be sitting at a Starbucks having a conversation with a stranger, and I'll just ask them, what's your dream? And they
Yeah.
look at me like I am on all the drugs that have ever
Yes.
existed.
Yes. That's
Right?
happened to me
Right?
too. Like they
Yeah.
think, like, why? Like no one asked those questions. Why are you
No
asking?
one else. And let me tell you, I look at them stone cold, like, you're not leaving here. This is a real question. I am
It's a
not. I'm having
genuine
coffee.
question.
There's
Yeah.
nothing in there.
Yeah.
And every now and then, Mauro, I'll run into someone who will either start crying, or they'll say, you know what, no one's ever asked me before, but would you believe? Boo, 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 boo. I had an 82-year-old man at a Starbucks in Connecticut,
Mm.
and he even took my information, and he kept in touch with me for years
Wow.
about the plan and what he wanted to do, when he wanted to start a children's home, because he had been blessed by that when he was little. He was him and his brother. So it's just amazing. Everybody has a story, Mauro. Everybody has a story, and we just need to make the invitation so that someone can hear this, say it out loud. Because when they hear themselves saying it out loud, it just takes on a life of its own, and it's freaking beautiful.
Could you imagine if we all lived like that? If we
Oof.
all, I mean, assuming everyone's dream is good, right? Because
Right, right.
maybe there's some dreams that are better left in the,
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
in the snooze realm, so to speak. But
Yeah,
yeah, if everyone lived like that, I mean, what a different planet this would be.
yeah,
And one of the reasons why I'm so happy that you do what you do and I do what I do is because we're putting our at least to the best that we can, right? We're putting our feet forward and we're helping
yeah,
others to do the same.
yeah.
And I think realizing that, because it's funny how your emotional state can change in a day. You can feel like you're having the best day ever, and then like something can happen, and then you're having like the worst day ever. But I think just realigning yourself to be like, you know what, like you say, right? Like just go back to the why. Just go back to the why, go back to the who, and it's like it just resets you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I love that.
Isn't that like it's yeah, and we have that power, but
Yeah.
we forget sometimes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
by we I mean me. Like I forget. It's like, oh, we just have to just shift your attention. I had a priest tell me one day that it's like as long as you fix your eyes on Christ on the cross, like you're good, man. Like
Yeah.
that's all you gotta
Yeah.
just shift your gaze.
Yeah.
Whatever you're looking at, just shift your gaze. And everything just changes.
Yeah.
Now I learned something very interesting about sight and hearing. So apparently sight and hearing are very, very, very linked. And what you hear will shift depending on what you look at, which is really interesting. So your
What?
auditory system will shift depending on where you look. So you will literally hear different things depending on where you're looking,
What?
which is really interesting.
That's crazy.
It is. And so it just goes to show like how important what we look at is.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at the right things, chances are you're going to hear the right things too. And
Yeah.
there was another priest that years ago would use the radio station as an analogy for tuning into God. So you got to change your dial, right? So as long as we tune into the right things, we're going to hear the right things and we're going to do the right things.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
love that.
Isn't that
And that's
interesting?
really good advice. I love that. The just fix your eyes on Jesus. Look at Jesus on the cross, and
And
that's it.
everything and
How
everything
are you mad? How are you still upset? How are
yeah.
you?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, can you tell us a little bit too about your time on stage with comedy
Oh
and
my gosh.
what you've been doing? Because I know it was improv. It was improv. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Tell me about
Yeah. So
that.
that was fun. Yeah, that was fun. That was just a sort of a dare I did to myself
I
to
wasn't
do.
there.
Yeah. It was a stand-up comedy class that I took, and then at the end of the class you have to do a showcase, and I just had too much fun with it. Made some really good friends, met some really good people. It's a very close-knit community, but really good people
Really
in
tight,
the
yeah.
comedy world. Yeah. Yeah, so I've done a couple of showcases, and just like I said, had too much fun with it, and I got to get back into it in January. I don't want to let that go, but it's been really fun, and it's like what we were talking about, Maudo. Every time you do something that is out of your comfort zone, I know you and I talk about that all the time. It stretches you a little bit. You're building different muscles. You're
Mm,
using different parts of you. You're daring. Listen, I'm not afraid to fail. That's why I took the class. Because if I go out there and bomb, listen, at least I went out there. I've never been afraid of failing, and I think that helps too,
mm.
because the fear of failure is not going to stop me from doing anything. So I get to do more things, and I'm 58, right? But I say I'm just getting started. So we'll see what comes next. We'll see what God has in store.
My goodness. Yes, you're on a I love watching what you post. I love reading what you I mean, yeah, no, honestly, you're up to so many interesting things. Like it's so cool. It really is.
Thank you, Mom.
So, I where can people get in touch with you? Like if people want to know
Um,
more about what you're up to and actually see it, like where can they go?
Yeah, easiest thing. Berta Medina on Facebook. I have a Your Epic Next Facebook page. Uh, LinkedIn for people who do LinkedIn. Berta Medina Garcia, and usually the websites. It's yourepicnext.com and bertamedina.com. Berta Medina is more focused on the speaking side,
Mhm.
and Your Epic Next is all the other fun stuff.
Man,
So.
and fun stuff is right. Like, fun stuff is right. I've seen by working with you, and also by just observing what you do and what you've done, you surprise me sometimes in good ways. I mean, I'm like, you're epic next, like what's that? Like I remember when I saw it for the first time, I'm like, that's so cool. I went on your website immediately and I was like, this is so cool. Like, yeah,
Thank you.
you do really fun stuff, man.
Thank you, Moto.
Yeah. Thank you for all that you do. Like I genuinely mean that. Thank you for all that you do, because you do good good work. I mean,
Mauro, thank
good
you for
work.
saying that.
Yeah.
And thank you for recognizing, and I'm gonna say that you recognizing it is your mirror, right? It
Mm,
stands out to you because that's what you're doing too. And I know that that's what you're doing because I know you personally. As people get to know you throughout the channel and hear more about you, they'll find that I'm not making it up, that it's true. But you're constantly putting yourself out there to be a blessing for others, to serve others from the corporate level to the after school programs. The model, that's a big deal. You know what I mean? Because you're impacting at different levels, and that's important because a lot of people aren't willing to put themselves out there like that.
yeah, thank you for that.
So thank
Yesterday
you.
after school, I did my after school program yesterday with elementary kids here in South
Yeah.
Florida. And I have to tell you, so I planned the Christmas party for them, and since they behaved during the coaching session, the group coaching session that I did with them last time, I said, "Okay, you earned a party, right?"
Oh my gosh.
So they got the party, and I didn't tell them that I was gonna bring them Chick-fil-A. It was a surprise.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm like, which kid like doesn't like Chick-fil-A? So I
Right,
knew they
right.
were gonna like it, but when I told them I have a surprise, and I put it in an Aldi bag so they wouldn't know what it was.
Oh.
And like I pull out the Chick-fil-A, and like I felt like I was at like a stadium. Everyone
Yeah,
like exploded. Like what? I was like I felt like I was like Tony Robbins or something, like on
yeah,
stage.
yeah.
Like the entire classroom erupted, and like I'm like,
That's
what the
awesome.
heck? Like
Yeah,
I knew you
yeah,
guys were gonna like it, but and you know what that did for me? It reminded me like what a beautiful thing, the heart of a child.
yeah,
Like they just get excited. It's like you just give them Chick-fil-A and they're just like
yeah,
over the moon,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
And I think that as coaches, I think it's important for us to remember that. It's like, maybe I just need to be a little bit more grateful today. Like
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
yeah, like for me, like tapping into that gratitude is like, wow, like I
yeah.
gotta be more like that and
Yes,
less like a
yes,
curmudgeon,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. That's really cool. And with as excited as they were, Mauro, I bet you were double more excited than they were.
I was
Yeah,
thrilled.
yeah.
So and you do that. You like I remember we've had sessions, Berta, and like as a grown man, I have felt the same enthusiasm that they had for Chick-fil-A. Maybe I didn't scream as loud as they did, but internally, I was like so you do a great thing. You do a great thing, and I want everyone to know about it. Everyone, you need to check out your Epic Next. We're going to put it in the show notes. We're going to put it in the comments. I mean, reach out to her. You won't regret it. And
Thank you, Mauro.
just thank you, Berta, for coming
Yeah,
on. I mean,
thank
what a
you.
joy this was. What a joy this
Thank you,
was.
Mauro. So much fun. And give a kiss to Luis and the baby for me. And I know this is going to be a special, very blessed Christmas season with the biggest blessing you can have. So enjoy it. Make the most out of it. So I'm happy for you guys. Super happy
Thank you
for you
so
guys.
much. Thank you. All right, everyone. Do all the stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. That way we can continue to bring you exceptional guests like Berta. And remember, do not forget that every step of your life is an adventure and that you are the hero of your own story. Don't forget that.
Amen.
Berta, thank you so much.
Thank you, my
I,
friend.
I wish you
Have
the
a good
best.
one. Thank
Bye bye.
you. You too. Bye.